What's up, everyone? It's Isaac Smolden, the production manager here at my house. Today's episode of Diagnonsense is the first episode of a two-part series with renowned podcast guest Josh Xryfogle. So make sure you are tuning back in 2 weeks from now for the second part of our conversation. And don't forget, just like whenever Josh is on, the views expressed in this podcast do not necessarily represent the views of My House Matsu or its staff. Okay, everyone, thank you for listening. Enjoy the show.
90% of the time, I have no idea what I'm talking about.
No one knows what it means, but it's provocative.
It's not. It
Gets the people going.
You are now listening to Diagnonsense
Then we would just be idiots saying nonsense.
with Kurt Honak
Damn it.
and Isaac Smolden.
I am also here.
Going back to the songs of my grandparents' youth, listening to some of these classic songs. And, you know, we've heard those songs so much in pop culture that we don't, we hear it as cliched. But
Right.
I've been trying to, imagine it as new. Because there were certain things they were doing that just simply weren't done until they did it. And that's what defines the sound. So it's cliched now,
Right.
but it was as cutting edge as anything we've heard.
Yeah.
Give me an example.
I will. Let's see if I can get this. I'm still green on this song. Till the rivers all run dry, till the sun falls from the sky, till life on earth is through, I'll be needing you. I know sometimes you may wonder from little things I say and do, but there's no need for you to wonder if I need you, 'cause I'll need you till the rivers all run dry, till the sun falls from the sky, till life on earth is through, I'll be needing you.
Woo! Yeah! Thank you for
that was
tuning in to
really
Diagnonsense.
That actually sounded ridiculously good in the headphones. I don't know why.
Yeah.
but
It's good audio.
Maybe Josh is just good.
I'm Isaac Smolden. I'm joined by Kurt Honak and our guest and musical talent, Josh Xryfogle. Josh is back.
Yeah.
All
Back
right.
in the hot seat.
Turn
Yes, in the hot seat.
Turn it off now before we get canceled again. Views of
Did we
Josh
get canceled
Xryfogle
last
and-
time?
No,
No,
it was
no.
fine.
We were
It was
fine.
fine. We were good.
We tried though.
Eh,
There was some effort.
a little
was
bit.
a little bit
But it's
after.
okay. We made it. We made it through. You're back for another one.
I have a whole theory that all of the controversies that, this whole try that in a small town controversy.
jeez.
If I were this
Can we not
country
touch this
guy, just aside from the contrived part, if I were this country guy, I would want to pay these people money for what they did for his popularity. They pushed
yeah.
the money he made off of the controversy. I mean, that song was out
Right.
for weeks and no one
Right.
cared
Yeah.
until someone got mad, and
Yeah.
now it's a #1 hit song.
It's really weird, like the Streisand effect, I think is what they
Yes.
call that, where people draw attention to something that otherwise would have, people probably wouldn't have paid any attention to. Not because I'm not saying anything about the quality of music or whatever, just about the fact that people are talking about country music who probably don't even care.
Right.
That's not their genre of music. So it's funny.
And the people who do like country music are unlikely to think, well, it's contrived. And the question is, sometimes you've got the Streisand effect, where someone like Barbara Streisand legitimately tried to stop people from taking pictures of her house, which encouraged them to do more of. Right. So thus the name, the Streisand effect.
Right.
But you also have controversy marketing, where the Streisand effect is commodified. It's turned into a method of marketing.
Yeah.
And so my question is, how much of what we think is controversy is really just intentional nonsense?
It's possible. Yeah, I wonder that all the time. Everything I see.
If the whole media suddenly tells you it's controversial,
right,
we think it is.
right.
But if they don't tell us, so there's the legitimate controversy that actually taps into whatever makes us that way as humans. But then there's this whole marketing system. Like I see Ben Shapiro on Facebook, and he's always pushing these controversies, and I think these are things I didn't hear about until you said it.
Right. Yeah.
And now it's a thing.
Well, all of social media is designed around the idea of promoting the most controversial subjects possible, because that's what drives engagement. So the most popular thing on social media is always going to be something like politics, and I think to a lesser extent sports. I think that's why a lot of sports reporters and personalities use a platform like Twitter or Jitter now. What is it?
Yeah,
X.
Depends if you speak Mandarin. It's
so because you have your totem of the enemy. If you're a Red Sox fan, you hate the Yankees. If you're a Yankees fan, you hate the Red Sox, and you can scream at each other on the internet about it in a forum like that. And that's always going to be the most popular. It's going to recommend you to topics like that, which really is a bad, I think, bad for our political discourse when you're when the most popular post and the thing that's going to be recommended is all the most controversial, dividing topics possible, with very little real discourse happening in that space. Housekeeping. What are we? 8 minutes in housekeeping. We have merch now. That's the big one, right? Yeah.
I gotta start promoting
myhousematsak.com, or if you go to our website myhousematsu.org, we're gonna working on getting a tab there so that you can just click right through. And there's My House merch, there's Redemption merch, but there's also podcast merch on there, and there's two. The Diagnonsense is the first podcast to have its own separate merch on this platform. There's two great designs. There's our prescription drug Krampus design, where you've got a nice big blow up of cartoon Kurt on a Krampus body on the back. But we also have a design popularized by the last time Josh was on, our Wake Up Sheeple design that has two little sheep on the back. Actually, we have a copy in-house right here. I can show Josh. I mean, this is an audio format, but so you've got nice little Diagnonsense logo on the front, right? Here you go. Here's your back.
Oh, that is lovely.
Little Kurt and Isaac sheep with the
That's great.
podcast colors on the back.
I like it.
Pick up yours today. myhousemerchak.com.
That's
Buy that merch.
That's one of those shirts that really feels good.
Oh yeah,
it doesn't feel stiff and
it's
weird.
good quality. It's good. It's we use these for like sports tournaments and stuff, and I still have some from like 3 years ago. They hold up well. They feel comfortable.
Who'd you go through to get these shirts?
We are doing print on demand through Printify right now. Although we have some stuff in the works to maybe start doing some more in-house stuff. I don't know. But for now, you can get them online. myhousemerchak.com. Buy that merch. All right. Let's continue our conversation. I think, Josh, the reason we wanted to have you on, which thanks for coming back on again.
My
by
pleasure.
The way, was to, I guess, before, how's Music in the Park going? Do you have anything
It's over
happening
now.
over there?
We
Is it done now?
Yeah, it's every Saturday in June, and then we also do the 4th of July, which was a Tuesday this year.
That's right.
But it is in the talks. We are talking with the city about. It's been very popular, so we're talking about expanding it to maybe 8 weeks.
Nice.
So
anything else happening with People's Paper, Pass, Make a Scene?
Well, I don't know if last time I was here we had started distributing into Anchorage and Eagle River yet. Had I?
I don't think so.
No, so that's new. Last couple of months, I forget how many, but for several months now, we've expanded into Anchorage and Eagle River market with the paper. We've went up
That's
from
cool.
Oh, it's great. We went up from 10,000 copies per issue, which was already quite a lot per issue.
Right.
We're at 17,000 copies per issue.
Nice.
So
That's
a
awesome.
70% increase in reach. And the beauty of it is our return rate really hasn't changed, meaning we have about a 5 to 10% return rate any given month, meaning in newsprint for every for 10,000 copies, we might have 500 come back.
Right.
Because it's hard to predict. But we have half of our stands are empty. We just never exactly know where every paper will go.
Right.
So there's always a little bit of recycle waste. We've been able to keep that below 10% even as we've increased by 7,000 copies because this new market we're in, Anchorage and Eagle River, is ripe. There's obviously the population density is 3-4 times as much as the Matsu. So we're going to eventually be able to move way more papers in Anchorage. They just sucked them right up.
Nice.
The reception we've gotten. And that is, of course, a growth of opportunity for us because Anchorage Press went out of print.
Right.
So when I saw that they were going out of print, I thought, Anchorage needs a free paper.
Mm-hmm.
So we moved as quickly as we could as a company to prepare for that move. And so far, so good. Everyone really has received us well. And we've also got Eagle River, which was another market that really needed, they lost their paper, one of their papers a while back. So we're excited about that growth. And we've got some things in the works about doing more events next year.
Nice.
Maybe something really big, one big festival type thing we're thinking about. So
Like that.
Be on the lookout. Be on the lookout. Is it peoplespaper.com?
it would be best to go to makeasceneak.com.
Makeasceneak.com. Okay. Because you too could be a People's Paper writer.
You sure
I've been
can.
a People's Paper writer. Kurt's been a People's Paper writer. If you ever wanted to moonlight as a journalist.
And I love the idea that we're discussing liberty and things that, and in ways that are, I feel like, constructive. I like
Yeah.
the
it's a lot better
conversation.
than jitter. Or Jeter?
The algorithm on what is formerly known as Twitter, X, whatever it's called, it is toxic. It pulls everything that's going to upset you to the front and forefront. Yeah. And that is, I was just having this realization recently. I was writing about, because I'm always thinking about how our paper, the People's Paper, differs from other corporate media. And, what the internet does well is it allows people to communicate in real time, but because it's so impermanent, people know they can just delete it. They say and do things that if they were taking up actual space in a paper that they couldn't unprint, they would think twice about it. So you end up with all this very emotional, instinctive, it's very engaging, but it's not substantive. It doesn't reflect thoughtfulness.
Right.
Yeah.
But when you can't unprint 17,000 copies, you're not as quick to say something rash or so.
Right.
So
For the most part.
For the most part.
Every once in a while.
You get a little, but I would say that when people open up the People's Paper, even though it is social media in print, the overall quality of the content is going to be higher. And because we're not trying to create clicks, we don't have clickbait. Our titles are not crafted by a publisher or an editor or a writer to make you want to click it. You know how you click all these articles and almost inevitably the title feels like it really kind of misled you a little bit?
Yeah,
not a lot.
Every time.
Right.
Every single time.
That is because they're trying to get you to click because they monetize clicks, not content. And we monetize content. So we take people's content that they give to us and we offer them the ability to get it out there. But there's knowing that 17,000 copies of this are going to be printed, they think it through. They think about this should be relevant. This should be real.
Right.
It shouldn't be rash or emotional.
Right.
So and they never think to themselves, how can I make more people click it?
Right.
Because it's print.
Well, I think there's a certain amount of vetting you have to do with yourself so that you have a more complete thought before you
Yes.
publish it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. We should have a public discourse happening that helps us complete our thoughts. And that's this is part of that discourse. But yes, absolutely. Right. And the problem with the media now is the public discourse has been disconnected from the public. It is now a top-down, trickle-down narrative process through the media where we're told what to think rather than telling each other what we think.
Or told what to argue about.
I would agree with that, having witnessed people have their entire social media deleted for posting a meme, or like myself during COVID, having my content removed.
Yep,
because somebody didn't agree with something, even if it was a thought to publish something as a platform to like have a discourse about, or a conversation about whatever it was. That's not allowed. I would agree with that.
During COVID, and I saw all that was happening with corporations working with the government to do exactly what you're describing. It instantly reminded me of that quote, and I forget exactly. I was just Googling here. But here it is. This is a quote from Mussolini, who is considered the father of fascism. I posted this quote on Facebook, and they shut my whole thing down because I posted. I didn't say Mussolini's a great guy or anything.
Right.
I said I was posting a poignant quote from the guy who is called the father of fascism.
Right.
That what I was seeing, this marriage of corporation and state, was fascistic. Like that was the context.
Yeah.
I mean, a pretty reasonable critique, if you ask me.
Yeah, I would say so.
So I post it, and Facebook shuts me down. But the post is as follows.
Oh, he's going to read it here, so that we're shut down.
But don't write it in the description, or you'll get
okay.
Fascism should more appropriately be called corporatism because it is a merger of state and corporate power. Now, I have no idea why that would be so offensive. To Facebook, but they took away my account entirely. I couldn't access my account. I forget, like 60 days, I think. Maybe it was 30. Regardless, even a day would have been proof of fascistic behavior. So it not only was it wrong that they did it, it was surreal and ironic.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, that's kind of what the quote is about.
Right. Which lends to the idea that they know that what they're doing is fascism.
And it's kind of an erasal of history too.
Oh yeah.
I mean, that kind of ties in here, and there's been a lot of discussion about that recently. I was recently in DC, and my wife and I, we went to the American History Museum, and they had this really great exhibit on American entertainment through the years. So they had R2-D2 and C-3PO from Return of the Jedi there. They had Michael Jordan's jersey. They had a signed Babe Ruth bat. My favorite was two of the hockey gloves from Miracle on Ice. But a lot of it was really mostly focused on movie and TV. Ruby Red Slippers were there, and they had this whole section that was just a loop of videos from movies like Peter Pan, Song of the South. They had a section that was an old tutorial tape by a black actor that was, the whole purpose of the tape was teaching white actors how to dress in blackface and, quote, walk like a black person. Just
that's surreal.
Very all these instances of Hollywood and movies, television, entertainment, just the errors of that time period. And I thought, how much more powerful is that for these school groups that are walking through, these 10 to 12-year-olds that they probably haven't seen maybe the original versions of Song of the South or Peter Pan. How much more powerful was it to see a display of it and see, oh, that was wrong. We probably shouldn't have been doing that. We shouldn't have been lumping all these people into a group and portraying them as this one thing in a derogatory manner, or making caricatures of people groups in cartoons. but they can see it, they can
Right.
view it, they can
Because
think
it wasn't
critically
censored.
because it wasn't censored. And then you look at what these certain streaming services or social media apps are doing, where they just want to scrub all that away and just take. There's no room for discourse.
Right.
There's no room for that rational thought, and I think it's so much more harmful where you just try to pretend like none of that happened. And I think there's a lot of folks that rather, and I don't think that this is necessarily on one side of the political aisle or another. I think there's folks from both sides of the political aisle, from all different sorts of backgrounds, that just rather us pretend like none of that ever happened and it'd be better for everyone. But deliberate ignorance of the horrible things that happened in history doesn't lead to us growing as a society.
Even today with COVID and recently I was made aware that Laura Delano, who is she runs Inner Compass Initiative, which is a psychiatric survivors group. Her video, I noticed one of her videos where she came up in 2015 to talk in Alaska, was censored on YouTube for, I think it was like age restricted or something. But that it is ironic because on one hand, we're giving kids 5 drugs at a time, but when somebody who survived going through that process and come out on the other side and said that didn't work for me, we're going to censor their YouTube speech. But we're not afraid to give a child like 5 or 6 different psychotropic drugs. And to me, it doesn't even have to be controversial to me, that the fact that the censorship, that level of,
that it happens in the first place.
That's not even a controversial take to me, is that you shouldn't drug children until they're sick and dying. Right. But somehow we have censorship on those subjects, and that's not even like to do with race necessarily. Although if you look at the roots of how these things come about, but yeah, it's pretty disturbing.
Well, isn't it true that Pfizer is like the biggest advertiser in the world?
I don't know.
Every time you tune into one of these corporate news stations,
Yeah.
it says brought to you by Pfizer.
Well, yeah.
And it shows their logo right after the news segment.
Right.
So we're this pharmaceutical dominion that they've seemed to have taken over all of the culture. So they're making so much money. And they're also, the pharmaceutical industry is the biggest advertising block by far.
Yeah.
Like no other industry spends more money on advertising. And they're advertising, primarily they're advertising with that money drugs that you can't choose to buy on your own.
Yeah.
So you have to. So they're lobbying the consumer to lobby the doctor so the patient is choosing their own drugs, and then they're paying the doctors on the back end to not throw up a red flag and say, "Wait, this undermines the entire concept of prescription drugs." Well, like the doctor should be making that decision regardless of what the patient thinks.
And another thing that's bizarre, Josh, is Thomas Saz has this quote where he says, it's funny because in America, we're putting people in jail for the drugs that they're not supposed to take, but we're putting them on the drugs that they are supposed to take. So are we choosing to be drug-free, or are we choosing that some people have to be on certain kinds of drugs and other people shouldn't be on the ones that they want to take? Which is like either you're altered or you're not.
Yep.
So if we're making a decision as a public to alter millions of people with mind-altering substances, but we're saying, well, it can't be the ones that they want to take, then are we just not
and look at
complete hypocrites about that?
And all of these drugs that you see now that are coming out of, these designer drugs and whatnot, they're all pharmaceutical based.
Yeah.
Like fentanyl is a pharmaceutical.
Yeah.
So ultimately, we've shifted drug abuse primarily from plant-based concentrates like cocaine or whatever, or heroin. We've shifted over to these much stronger, much more addictive, much more dangerous, which is hard to imagine something more dangerous than heroin, but fentanyl is worse than heroin.
Well, I read, and Kelly Brogan's been she's been kind of a counterculture psychiatry figure, and she was saying that she's ran people through withdrawal with antidepressants, and it can be worse than heroin because you try to taper they're starting you out on something that is a multitude of higher than what needs to be in your nervous system to have an effect, but then you try to taper and you're having to cut, she had to cut people down to like just a few milligrams, and even a jump from like couple milligrams to like 1 is a multitude more than, 20 to 15 or something, because it's hyperbolic. So meaning that like the mechanism of action is amplified at the smaller doses and then kind of tapers off as you get into the larger doses. And so people are starting out on these drugs at these high dosages, and then they can't figure out why they're having a rebound of symptoms when they try to withdraw, or they're sicker than they originally were on it or withdrawing from it. And so, yeah, it's pretty tragic.
Well, we've done that thing again where we go off on a tangent for half an hour on
Important tangent.
not an important tangent. Yes.
You need a shirt that references the tangents.
Yeah. Josh Xryfogle's wonderful rabbit trail.
Follow the white rabbit.
Yeah, follow the white rabbit. Is that an innuendo?
Are you trying to bring up
Alice in Wonderland.
Yeah.
That's what that's from. That's not controversial, right? Alice in Wonderland. Is there anything bad that happens in that movie? I think we're good there, right? Right? It's fine. I mean, there are multiple probably. Oh wait, no, there's caterpillars smoking hookahs in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We don't condone the smoking of hookahs.
Well, but the hookah is tobacco, right?
Well,
It wasn't implied that it was drugs.
no, I guess.
I mean, the cartoon sort of does, but I don't think the original book. Maybe it did. I mean, the whole thing seems like a drug trip.
the whole thing seems like Alice is
dream.
on LSD,
yeah.
withdrawing from